Dream a little dream of me. Welcome kindreds, it's Jessica the Story Witch, and this is my video for day 16 of the 31 Days of Tarot challenge hosted by Ethne Dawn. I will put a link to the challenge prompts and her video down below, so if you'd like to take part you can do so, and let me know if you are in the comments so I can come over and watch your video and subscribe to your channel. So this question is: what tarot card in the deck do you look out for the most when you get a new deck? If you don't like that card, does it ruin the deck for you? And yes, I definitely do have a card that I look out for, and I always make sure actually that I see this card first, because if I don't like this card then I won't get the deck. There are definitely decks that I've got which I like the card more or less in, but it can't be a deal breaker. So that card for me is Strength, because that 8 is my life path number. That is what I'm doing here in this lifetime, and that Strength card really kind of sums that up for me. And so I do make sure that when I'm looking at decks, that is a card that I will look at first, and it needs to kind of touch me. I don't have like a it must show this. Like I know some people will have like the Empress as the card they look at, and they'll definitely want a non-pregnant Empress, for example, you know. I don't have like a rule for it like that. I'm not like, oh, there has to be a lion on the card or something like that, you know. I don't have a rule for it like that, but I just need to kind of have a connection with the imagery of that card before I will buy the deck. And I also, Justice, which, you know, if it depends on which system you follow, Justice could be the 8 card, because sometimes especially if it's like a sort of Thoth based deck, then Justice will be 8 and Strength will be 11. So I do look at the Justice card as well, which is, if you saw my video on the Sun, Moon and Rising sign, that is my rising, that's Libra. So I do like to look at that as well, but it's not... Justice cards tend to usually be okay, I find, whereas Strength cards sometimes really aren't. So well, maybe that's just my just my kind of bias towards it. So yeah, I look at those. And the other thing that I look at when I'm choosing a deck is I like to look at the whole suit of swords, because I feel like in many decks the suit of swords is very dour and depressing, and I find that unhelpful. I know Kelly, Truth in Story Kelly, talks about the 3 of Swords especially, and other swords cards, because she feels similarly to me in that it's a result of the kind of Golden Dawn and Rider-Waite-Smith kind of interpretation of the cards, because they did see that kind of mental air realm as being more problematic than the fire, earth and water, and almost like more it's like, you know, getting out of the way of your own ego. That was the thoughts of the time, and still kind of the thoughts now, you know. But I find that I like to have openness of interpretation in those cards, because sometimes, well, not sometimes, a sort of faculty of thought, that kind of air quickness and mental acuity is something that is valuable. And so I find that decks that kind of only have the very heavy negative, or everything swords is crap, they don't tend to work very well for me in readings. So I'm a very airy person, so I admit I have full bias. So back to Strength, which is, like I say, the kind of one card that stands out as the one that I need to check out apart from that whole suit of swords. This card, you know, traditionally I pulled out a couple of cards to show you. That's the Rider-Waite-Smith Strength, which is, you know, it's the maiden kind of subduing the lion, not by force so much as by kind of inner strength, you know. It's not a kind of physical strength necessarily, although in some cards it definitely can be. And like, I don't mind that, and I've enjoyed unpacking the symbolism within that card, and it definitely does kind of resonate for me. But I love that now in new decks that come out, you know, there are different options for Strength. And I've just pulled a couple out to show you. This one's from the Joie de Vivre, And again, the Lion is in this one, and the Maiden. And they're all given names, which I love, about the Joie de Vivre deck. So I'm sorry if the light is rubbish in here as well. I'm trying to film all of these 31 Days of Tarot videos together, and it's already dark, and it's not really a good idea, but there we go. So yeah, the light's kind of fading in and out, but hopefully you can see the cards okay. So in this one, the Maiden or Fairy and the Lion are kind of sitting together on the branch, and you kind of, they are, you know, they're almost like cheek to cheek, and you feel like they're kind of at one, and it is still that kind of beast power, strength, and also that kind of air and emotional and spiritual strength kind of blended together. And that is what I like about that interpretation of the card. You know, it's almost a kind of more ethereal strength, but it has got those kind of layers of meaning built into it. And then I wanted to share my favourite of all time, which is Saying Something. And I'm saying that now and I'm like, is it really? And it is my favourite. The Strength card, which is from the Ostara Tarot, which is this, which is absolutely, I just don't think it could be any more perfect. Look at that. So you've got the woman, I see it as, although, you know, it's fairly ungendered, so you could see it kind of as a more open-ended if you wanted to. And, you know, she looks kind of piratey with the one eye blacked out, but I see that as being a kind of focus. You know, she's focused on what she needs to do. And on her shoulders, she has two cities. She literally has like the weight of the world on her shoulders. She's got the one, you know, it's night and day. So she is like strong in the night, she is strong in the day. She is holding the whole earth, the whole world, you know. But it doesn't look like it's a difficult thing to do. And the reason it's not difficult is because of this heart, which she's just kind of like lightly holding in her glove. You know, just here's my very, very tender heart. And that's what I love about this card, is the vulnerability of it, because that is how I, at the moment, most definitely, for the last few years now, is how I have resonated with that Strength card. And my part of the life path is that strength in vulnerability, and that strength even when the real world is weighing you down, not letting that harden your heart, you know. And instead of a lion, there is a dragon that looks almost like it is at peace, because she is also looking after the dragon, you know, even though the dragon, you know, we can just see, I keep saying, you know, we can just see the head and part of the neck. So it's a huge, must be a huge beast. And yet it is almost like it looks to me like it's taking strength from her, like she is giving strength to the dragon. And that just, I love it. I love it so much. I think it's just so beautiful. And like that tiny tendril of hair which is going across her neck, almost like a kind of slit. It's so, her neck itself is so vulnerable. There's so much vulnerability in this card, and yet so much true heart strength. That's what I love about it so much. So yeah, that is my card that I must look at and make sure it is the one in the deck, otherwise I won't buy it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your cards are down below and I can have a read of those, and I will see you very soon.